Hello, everyone, and welcome into our Sunday show, the show that I'm calling Mourning After, Mournin, because everybody's mourning. There was a lot of upsets yesterday, and one of the upsets has already cost the coach a job, so I'll read you a statement here. Earlier today, I met with Coach Frost and informed him we are making a change in leadership of our football program effective immediately. Scott has poured his heart and soul into the Nebraska football program, both as a quarterback and head coach, and I appreciate his work and dedication. After the disappointing start to our season, I decided the best path forward for our program was to make a change in our head coach position. Associate head coach Mickey Joseph will serve as our interim head coach for the remainder of the 2022 season, and that was signed by Trev Alberts, the vice chancellor and director of athletics for Nebraska. So got us a nice panel in here to talk about this and talk about a lot of the games from yesterday. So I'll bring them in right now. So we have Todd Guy. How you doing, Todd Guy?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
All right, great. And we also have Will. What's happening, Will?
Rough Saturday, but I'm recovering. I'm recovering from the disappointment of losing to Marshall.
Yeah. And we also have exploring with Ben and Sam. We have Ben from Ben and Sam. How you doing, Ben?
In full recovery mode now this weekend from one. So doing pretty good over here.
So we did have some major upsets yesterday, but let's talk a little bit about this Scott Frost deal. So that guy, what is your thoughts on Scott Frost? I mean, we all knew it was going to come. We just didn't know it would come so soon.
Well, maybe Scott Frost decided yesterday, let's lose to a team we have no business losing to, and force Nebraska to pay me the extra $7.5 million. I mean, to me, it's a mistake. I personally wouldn't have fired him. I would have waited until October 1st and saved the $7.5 million. I don't see Nebraska, no matter who their coach is, unfortunately, going to beat Oklahoma next week. So that's going to be a loss. So you just suffer through one more game after the Oklahoma game to Indiana. Well, and actually, you don't even have to suffer to the Indiana game because the Indiana game is October 1st. So you could have pretty much let him just coach through Oklahoma, kept him on the sideline the next 2 weeks in practice, and it would have saved $7.5 million.
Yeah. Will, what did you think about the
I'm
Scott
not
Frost being
as
fired?
against it as Jeff is because, I feel like and maybe we'll hope it'll give the players a spring, with a new coach. Sometimes teams just do better after they get the new coach, the new coach jump. And also, I felt like maybe they'll play more for pride against Oklahoma than they would have with Scott Frost. So, I don't hate it. I mean, obviously, it sucks giving a guy who's done a terrible job an extra $7.5 million, but I feel like this might help Nebraska and, try to vault them to a bowl bid.
Yeah, it could. Ben, do you think they could have a chance to go to a bowl this year since they're changing their coach?
I'm not going to do a bowl projection type thing for them, but I get both Jeff and Will's points. I think both of them are very valid because I have the most, unique take on Frost because he was our wide receivers coach and our offensive coordinator. So I love Scott Frost, but I exactly see why Nebraska finally said, regardless of the buyout, this is it. Maybe this is what they need. Some teams bounce back after getting rid of the common denominator throughout the years that's kind of held the team back. So you never know. Next week they could go in and stun Oklahoma because they're fired up. They just lost their coach, the guy they committed to in a way. So it can go both ways. But I'm not surprised, obviously, this year, no matter what, now or 2 weeks from now, that Nebraska went this way because Frost has not been producing. He has not been winning. I mean, plain said,
Yeah, you got to produce, and so I'll rip this Band-Aid off now. I figured Scott was going to be fired, and that was like Jeff, and thought that he would wait till October. Another coach that's just got to be fired, and unfortunately, this one has a huge buyout, and that's Neal Brown at West Virginia, falling to Kansas 55-42. I mean, he's got a $20 million buyout though, and his contract runs through 2026. So, it's either rip that Band-Aid off and pay that $20 million and be done with this, or hold on to him and be lucky to go 6-6 every year. Did y'all watch any of that? That game was on ESPN Plus, so a lot of people wasn't able to watch it. Ty Guy, did you get to see any of it?
No, I actually it wasn't shown on my cable, so I was unable to watch it. I hopped on your show a little bit yesterday, and heard, and I kind of kept up to date on my phone, and that was really a hard loss, I believe, for you guys. I think coming out of the Pitt game, you guys lost to Pitt, but in the fashion that you lost, it was almost like a victory in a way. You came out of that game thinking that you shouldn't have lost to Kansas. I mean, your offense looked good. JT Daniels looked good in the loss against Pitt, and I know a lot of people were down to the loss to Pitt, but I thought you guys looked like, at least a 7-5 team, an 8-4 team. But now when you lose to Kansas, you got to kind of reevaluate, the trajectory of where this program is going. Is it like the Scott Frost situation? Because you guys do have some talent. You guys do have some players. Is it that your coaches aren't using the talent and aren't, getting the most out of them? So personally, I think Neal Brown should be fired. I don't see how you go 0-2 with the schedule that you have and he keeps his job.
Well, let me ask you this. So he could always turn the season around. Kansas could be good. We don't know. I mean, Kansas looked really good. They really did. Now, is that because West Virginia let Pittsburgh beat them twice and just weren't playing up to speed? Or was West Virginia playing their heart out and Kansas is just that much better? I mean, that much improved. So, I mean,
well, I will tell you that good. Kansas is improved. Kansas is a much better team than they were last year. Last year, they went 2-10. This team, Kansas, well, especially with the victory yesterday, they should be able to go 6-6. I do think the Duke game is going to be a little tougher game, seeing how Duke played yesterday. But, I mean, they should be able to beat Duke. They should be able to beat ISU. Houston didn't look good yesterday. So I think Kansas is better. But the question becomes, how long do you let Neal Brown, how many losses before you pull the Band-Aid off on that one?
Yeah. Will, Jimmy Touchdown has a message for you. Would you like to read it?
I know. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Jimmy T called it all week. Marshall steamrolled ND. Jimmy, you did call it, even though it was a troll. You did end up actually calling. Your troll actually ended up becoming true, and we did lose to Marshall. Yes, congratulations, Jimmy.
Actually, he did call that all week long. So props to Jimmy Touchdown on that one.
Yeah, that was a good call, and he called Kansas to beat West Virginia too. So,
I told you to watch out for the Jayhawks, Joey.
Will, now let's talk about your Notre Dame Fighting Irish losing to Marshall. Okay, so West Virginia losing to Kansas, that's bad, but Notre Dame's a top 10 team losing to Marshall. And let me ask everybody this, how good is the Sun Belt Conference? I mean, look what App State did to Texas A&M. How good is the Sun Belt Conference? Are they the third best conference? Are they maybe the best conference?
Well, and who's laughing at North Carolina now, barely pulling out a win over App State with what App State did to Texas A&M yesterday?
Yeah. Will, what do you think? Did you think they could be like the third best conference right now? The Sun Belt.
I mean, possibly. I mean, at least the top of it looks pretty strong with Marshall, Georgia Southern, and App State. So I don't know. Maybe they could be the New Year's. Maybe they could be the New Year's Six bowl conference this year. Maybe it's the Sun Belt's turn to play in the Peach Bowl or whatever bowl that the best Group of 5 team play in. Although Air Force looks good too.
Jimmy Touchdown says Marshall's the best team in West Virginia. Marshall to the ACC. I don't see that ever happening. And regardless, they still never beat West Virginia. So sorry about that.
But see, you're talking about coaches getting fired. And I know it's a huge buyout, but when is Texas A&M going to get tired of Jimbo Fisher? Right now, Jimbo Fisher has one more win than what Sumlin had, and they fired Sumlin to bring him in. They're paying Jimbo Fisher $9.5 million. They just gave Appalachian State $1.5 million to come in and beat them.
Yeah.
When does that Band-Aid get pulled off?
You know that a team like Texas A&M should never lose to a team like Appalachian State, of course. But I look at that and think to myself, Appalachian State, what are they doing different? Because there's no way they can keep up with NIL. There's no way they can get the recruits that Texas A&M and UNC can get. What's going on there? How are these teams able to come in and upset all these programs that are paying their players more or less? These players are being paid to play football, and they're being upset by teams that are lucky if their players are making $1,000 a year.
Well, the first thing they're doing is their coaches are developing them. I mean, these kids are, 0 stars. These kids don't have 1, 2, 3 star. You're playing against Texas A&M, who just brags that they had the top-rated class in recruiting. They've had at least, top 10 recruiting the last 3 years. So App State is actually developing players better than what North Carolina is and what Texas A&M is as far as, the last 2 games.
Are Power 5 programs getting lazy on developing players since NIL?
I think so. And I also think that the transfer portal is going to ruin some coaches also, because you don't have to develop as well as long as you can, go to the transfer portal and pick up a top player.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm wondering how many coaches are like looking at players saying, I don't think they're going to stay in my program. Don't develop them so much, don't work with him so much. And that player ends up staying, and somebody they did develop ends up hitting the transfer portal. Then they're stuck with players undeveloped. So I don't know that. Go ahead, Will.
I feel like also the coaches just don't prepare the team as much for these Group of 5 teams that they do for a conference rival. I think they only do like a couple of things maybe. And then these Group of 5 schools, they probably stay up like 48 hours, like just preparing, seeing, like trying to find weaknesses in their Power 5 opponents to hopefully pull out the upset.
So $5 donation from Jimmy Touchdown. Thanks for the $5 donation. How did Neal Brown get 2 contract extensions with 1 winning season? Neal Brown had a $20 million buyout. Who negotiated that contract for WU? Yeah, that was Shane Lyons. So Shane Lyons likes Neal Brown a lot. So, that's what's holding Neal Brown on right now. Now, I believe, I'll be honest with you, I believed in Neal Brown all the way up until yesterday in the 4th quarter. And I kind of just started turning away from Neal Brown at that point, because I feel like that. I think Neal Brown's a great coach. I just don't think he's ready for Power 5 coaching or something. I don't know what it is. He did a great job at Troy turning them around. They were a horrible program, and he goes 4-8 his first year there, and then the next 3 years he goes 10-2. all 3 years. So, he turned Troy around and we hire him. He's not been able to turn that corner for West Virginia to get us even 8 wins. So something's got to change, and I don't know if he can change some stuff right now to salvage this season and still give us a 7 or 8 win season. But if he can, he has to do it. He has to do it, because if he doesn't, these fans are going to really turn against him. Another Filer of the Nation for Jimmy Touchdown. He says, if Governor Jim Justice could get Doc Holliday fired after numerous 10-win seasons and being Conference USA Coach of the Year, why is Neal Brown still at WVU? I'm not going to jump into that, talking about Doc Holliday being fired and stuff and Jim Justice having a part in it. I don't know how that worked out. So, but I will agree with you that, Neal Brown, they need to at least start thinking about it, at least.
Well, the nice thing for West Virginia, you guys play Townsend next week, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you get it together against Townsend, and then you play Virginia Tech. Now, Virginia Tech didn't look as bad last night against Boston College, but we know Boston College isn't, a powerful team, but they did look pretty good. So, I mean, there's 2 games that you have to win, but then you guys kind of hit the Texas, Baylor. So, right. I mean, you guys got 2 weeks to get it together before you go and play at Texas. And I'll speak about yesterday's game. Going to Texas is not that fun when you're favored.
No.
I mean, I came just a couple seconds away from calling Will up and crying in beer with him yesterday so.
That was an amazing game. That was a good game. I liked that game. That was the first game of the day. I was excited about that game. I figured I was going to have to watch the first quarter, and then I was going to get to go watch other games and watch anything I wanted to. No, that was a good game. I mean, Texas hung in there, and I really thought they was going to pull it out there at the end.
I didn't think Texas was going to expose us the way they did, but Alabama, we don't have receivers that can go deep like we have in the past. We don't have that speedy receiver to scare people. And Texas, they showed that yesterday. They exposed our pass deficiency.
Yeah. Jimmy Touchdown, thank you for the Filer donation. All WVU fans should call Jim Justice office tomorrow and the man Neal Brown be fired immediately. WVU is starting 0-12 in the face this season. Well, I don't think so. We'll beat Townsend this week. I'm 99% sure of that. And then we have another super chat here from Kadu, $10 donation. Thank you for the donation. Kansas fan here. Look at Texas. They have the highest athletic department budget in the country. You tell me who has more heart and determination, a 19-year-old who has paid for his skill or a 19-year-old who had to earn it. There you go. I agree. 19-year-old who has to earn it is going to have a lot more heart and determination. And that's what's happening with a lot of these teams. Like, for instance, like we're talking about App State going and beating Texas A&M, or Marshall beating Notre Dame. It just heart and determination. And no matter how much you're being paid, that heart and determination means a lot. Will, are you still with us, man? Or Ben, I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if Ben lost the service or what happened there. Another super chat here from Jimmy Touchdown. Rich Rod should be on a plane to Morgantown. Well, I don't think that would happen. Too much bad blood there. I don't think that would happen on either one of his part. I don't know that Rich Rod would want to come back. I don't know if West Virginia would go after Rich Rod. So,
but I do believe that all West Virginia fans would celebrate if Rich Rod come back and got you 10-2. You might hate him, but winning cures hate.
Yeah. So,
sorry about that.
I'm looking. Well, that's all right, Ben. I was wondering
HR called from Denmark. I had to take that phone call. So yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, well, I had a question for you, Ben. I want to talk to you about because it's a Pac-12 question. How did you feel? What did you think about Washington State going in and beating Wisconsin yesterday?
Well, they screwed up my weekly picks. Thanks, Washington State. But that was an amazing game. That was a really, really good game. If you guys didn't watch it, watch the highlights. Washington State is either really good, improved, or Wisconsin has taken a step back. It's so early in the season, it's hard to tell, but it was an amazing thing because Washington State has not gone and beaten a Big Ten team on the road like that in quite a while. So if you watch their tackling, they were aggressive. They chased the ball. They tracked it down. It was an impressive showing on the road. So I have more fear now of Washington State than I even did before.
Now, Ben, how do you feel about Utah? Since Utah went to the Swamp last week and lost a really close game, but then Kentucky went into the Swamp yesterday. We thought Florida was a lot better with that win against Utah, and now they kind of came back to reality with the loss to Kentucky, who Kentucky is a good team. I'm not taking anything away from them. But when you're Florida playing in the Swamp, you should beat Kentucky. You know what I'm saying? Does that make you feel a little more confident playing Utah?
No. Again, I think it's so early in the season. Plus, Florida, new coach. They came off that high win against Utah. Maybe they just got a little lax, thinking like, "Oh, we're this good." They got a little overconfident. It's kind of that high and low of like, you lose this game or win this game, and then you lose the next game that you should have won. Type of thing because of that game you experienced the week before. So I think Florida's just in that they're in a learning curve with Billy Napier, but I think they're on the right track. Kentucky, take nothing away from Kentucky because they went in and they won and again screwed up my picks for the week. So thanks, Kentucky.
Jimmy Touchdown, thank you for the $2 donation. He says, WVU never went to South Bend and steamrolled Notre Dame. No, they didn't. They've only been there once. But Amos Zero did have 323 yards rushing against Notre Dame, though. So that was pretty good. Vantage Rose, thank you for the $5 super chat. How about Washington and Oregon State? People keep downplaying them, but they keep showing up. It's time for them to get some respect for realignment. Oregon State's a good team this year. There's no doubt about that. Boise State yesterday, Friday, Boise State beat New Mexico 31-14. And that's the same Boise State team that Oregon State took care of. So
I think that they, in this whole realignment talk, and it's been something I've always talked about, it's unfortunate because Oregon State and like Washington State are not getting talked about. They're talked about like as in dead weights, basically. And then you have Oregon State being 2-0, including on the road and Boise State. And you have Washington State 2-0, and they went to Wisconsin and beat Wisconsin. And I don't know if they're trying to make a statement, but everyone has always talked about them like they're dead weight in realignment. And I'm like, that's not true. And maybe they're showing it now. They're good teams,
Now, have you guys talk about
yeah.
realignment just 1 second?
Yeah.
Have you guys been reading about why realignment has slowed down? They're scared right now, and I don't know I forget the name of the schools, but there are 7 of them right now. If Washington was to leave the Pac-12 right now, antitrust lawsuits will be triggered. If Clemson, Florida State, Miami lead the ACC right now, antitrust lawsuits will be triggered. They're fighting the Sherman Act right now. So when they started, there was 5 conferences who have won a national championship within the last 30, 35 years. Once you concentrate all the championships into 3 conferences or fewer, that automatically triggers the Sherman Act. And so that's why right now, and there's actually, if you Google it, there's some reports out there on it, that the Power 5 is now looking at breaking away as a whole, or the whole FBS breaking away from the NCAA instead of a Power 2 conference. They don't know how to get to a Power 2 or a Power 3 without triggering the Sherman Act. So if you guys haven't read it, look it up. It's actually really interesting read.
Well, that's the same as like why Big Ten like got USC and UCLA, but if they tried to take all the Cal schools, they would actually monopolize the West Coast or that state, which would trigger another antitrust law. And so they have to be very, very careful about like who they pick or how many teams from a certain region they take, because otherwise, yeah, they've monopolized that area for their conference being, or that's a tricky, messy area of the legal area of that whole realignment issue that we have going on. But it's one that has to be dealt with too. So.
Jimmy Touchdown, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says WU versus Notre Dame is 0-4. Marshall versus Notre Dame is 1-0. Marshall is greater than WU. Well, if you're going to look at it that way and say that West Virginia is 0-4 against Notre Dame, we probably ought to look at that Marshall is 0-12 against West Virginia. So might want to look at that too before you make that statement. But thank you for the $2 donation. And then also we've got Vanity Rose coming in with the $2 donation. Oregon State has beat both Fresno and Boise State. And that's true. That's very true. So,
and I think Ben will tell you that Oregon State USC game could be really interesting.
It's looking more and more like that, because that was the game I think even all USC fans are kind of dreading, just out of history of what happens in Corvallis to them when they're highly ranked. And now the Beavers are actually looking like a really good team. So that will be one of those games to watch for sure.
So another game yesterday in the SEC, Arkansas and South Carolina. I didn't get to watch any of that game, but 44-30. Jeff, did you watch any of that game?
I did, because I said early on, and people kind of laughed at me, I had Arkansas finishing second in the SEC West. I think Arkansas is legit. I think Sam Pittman is a hell of a coach. I think Arkansas has a really good offensive line, and they're just going to run it down your throat. Now, they might not get a lot of yards in the first quarter, but they're going to just keep running it until your defense, gets tired. I don't think that the score really tells the story. I mean, Arkansas was in control of that game. I mean, it should have been a bigger margin, but I think Arkansas is back. I think Arkansas could beat Alabama if Alabama plays like they did yesterday and Arkansas plays like they did yesterday. I mean, that's a scary team.
Yeah. Jimmy Touchdown, $2 super chat. WU will fire Neal Brown and hire Clay Helton. No, but I could see him hiring like a Tom Herman. Them or Nebraska taking on a Tom Herman. And $5 super chat from I read one. To be fair, Marshall is a completely different program from the last time we faced WVU. Well, I agree there. I mean, Marshall is a different program. You moved up in conference and everything else. But I think the facts will still have to be there that you are 0-12 against us. And till you beat us, you can't say you're better than West Virginia. And I don't know if the game will ever be scheduled again. Should it be? Maybe. I think so, but I don't think it should be West Virginia, one at West Virginia and one at Marshall back and forth, because Marshall Stadium's too small. You got to, if y'all had a 70,000 seat stadium, I could understand that for sure. But there's too many Mountaineer fans that want to be at the game, and so you just can't hold it at Marshall. Now I want to toot my own horn here for a second, because something I've been calling all year and people have been calling me crazy for is I said, watch out for Kentucky. Kentucky's the team in the SEC. They are one upset away from winning the SEC East. That upset is Georgia. I said, they'll beat Florida. And everybody was like, no, you're crazy, Joey. They're not going to beat Florida. They beat Florida now. So I'm going to repeat it again. Kentucky's one upset away from winning the SEC East. They're a lot better than people think. And, they went into they didn't go in the swamp, but they took Florida, that same Florida team that had just beaten Utah and beat them. Shows you that Kentucky's are going to be a beast there. Now they've also got to get by Georgia, but I just feel like that's got to be the one upset. They've got to get by that game, and if they can do that, I think they have a shot for the SEC East.
The nice thing with Kentucky is they get Ole Miss, they get Ole Miss and Mississippi State is their crossover games. So I know Mississippi State, they beat Arizona last night. I know Ole Miss has Lane Kiffin, but those, if you're going to play a crossover game right now, those are probably the best two teams you'd want to play if you're Kentucky. And Kentucky beat Florida yesterday. And I don't know if you guys watched the game at all. Kentucky tried repeatedly to give that game away. I mean, they snapped the ball over the punter's head and gave up a safety. They did everything in their power to give Florida the win, and yet they found a way to win. So they beat Florida with probably one of the worst games Kentucky will play this year. So, I mean, you really do have to give them credit.
I feel like Mississippi State, although I think they're a good team, I feel like they're similar to Kentucky, but they have a better defense. I mean, Kentucky has a better defense, so yeah, it definitely looks good for Kentucky in the crossover.
I mean, Kentucky took out their number 2 main obstacle, Florida. So that's it. If they want the East, they have to beat Georgia, because you're not going to expect Georgia to lose, 2 games to allow Kentucky to take it. So they have to beat Georgia. If they overcome that, they take the East, no question, easily. And
I also think that Tennessee also is their bogey team. Like, even when Tennessee's bad, Kentucky finds a way to lose to Tennessee. So they have to get over that hurdle as well.
Well, that's why they need to take out Georgia, because they can't rely on Georgia losing 2+ games. They just can't. That's a recipe to not take it. So if they can beat Georgia, though, I think that they can overcome, and I think they could easily probably win the East.
Yeah. Another game. Jump over to the ACC again for a second, because like we talked about UNC and App State last week, and now that game don't look so bad. But you got to remember now that UNC played Georgia State yesterday, and they won 35-28. So that wasn't like they set the world on fire playing Georgia State either. So UNC, I think they're having a down year.
Well, losing a quarterback that got drafted in the 3rd round, I mean, that's going to hurt any team that's not a blue blood. So, yeah, it's just hard to bounce back. I mean, Drake May hasn't looked bad, but he's not like at Sam Howell's level quite yet. And also, their defense with Dean Chiswick was all terrible.
I think it's more on that defense. Yeah. That defense is allowing a lot of yards. I mean, offensively, of course, they took a little step back, but they're still putting up points. But that defense is giving up way too much to these types of teams. That's, I think, the number one issue. That's why they're like the heart attack team this year or something.
I'm going to.
Yeah, they're like Wake Forest with a much worse defense.
I'm going to drop the StreamYard link into the chat. So anybody that wants to come in, you'll have to show me in the back room. You have to turn your camera on to let me know that you're a real person. Give me thumbs up or whatever I might ask you to do. Another super chat coming in from Vanity Rose. Thank you for the follow super chat. If Urban Meyer goes to Nebraska, I'll bet that in 2 recruiting classes and 2 transfer portal cycles, they'll be top 15 team, and with their boosters. Well, yeah, unless, he starts having some kind of an illness again, one of his little fake illnesses or whatever. I mean, what was it? He had
2 to 3 years.
He had a headache. He had a heart. He had a headache. He had a heart, and then he had a lap dance.
Nice one. Nice one. But yeah, no,
Give me a thumbs up there, Klein.
2 years, he could probably get it like top 15. That's not unreasonable. It's not like top 5, but top 15. Yeah, I would say with 2 years. Yeah, maybe he could.
Klein, give me a thumbs up.
We talked about that earlier. Does Nebraska really want to deal with that and worry about 3 years from now him bailing out because of another medical condition?
And that's the thing when you hire Urban Meyer. Honestly, even if you don't, how long is he going to be your coach? If you hire Urban Meyer, you're looking at a 2 to 5 year at the most coach. Is that what you want to invest your money in?
Yeah, he might take your level to that area you want to be, but then what happens when he leaves? So is it worth putting the money out for that to then dip back down like you have been, or do you want to just build your way naturally and progress like they've been trying to do? We'll see.
Climb, man, how you doing, Matty?
Pretty good. Got too much time here. I gotta get back to work. I just want to get some comments out about yesterday's game. Look, I know Going Blue Dude said that was a cheap shot on Texas quarterback, and I'm not a Bama fan, but I'm going to go out and defend Bama in this case and saying that was not a cheap shot. You can expect a guy his size to stop on a dime like that.
Jeff, what did you think about that hit?
That was a one-step hit. I mean, that if you want to call it roughing because he put all of his body weight on him, I'm okay with that. But the hit was legit. I mean,
not.
Klein, you're breaking up real bad. Your internet's not working at all. We're not getting but like every third word.
I mean, I know everyone gets their opinion on it, but like I said, I played football before and I've been hurt in games, but it wasn't a cheap shot by any means.
The only thing I felt like was that he slammed him down into the ground, shoulder and head first. It just seemed like he slammed him pretty hard. Maybe he could have held back a little bit there, but it's football. So, I mean, what can you say? It's football. Jimmy Touchdown, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, breaking. Big Ten invites Marshall after Notre Dame win. Yeah.
Well, and I'll agree with Ty Guy. I'm not a Bama fan at all, but that was not a cheap shot at all. Could he have laid off a little bit? But I mean, he was right there. He grabbed him, tackled him. He didn't like grab him, pick him up, throw him on the ground or something like that. He literally just tackled him up high, and he landed hard. I wasn't crazy about that call myself. I was kind of like, again, it's a clean tackle. What are you going to do? But it definitely was not a cheap shot by any means or overly aggressive.
No, it was kind of one motion. It was just kind of one motion of just getting him down. He just landed awkwardly. It looked worse than really the hit was.
Yeah, it was more than the way exactly landed. That was more what made it worse. It wasn't the tackle itself.
And I'll be honest with you, as soon as that tackle was made and Ewers left the game, I was in multiple chats and I told everybody, I hope Ewers comes back. I don't want to hurt a guy. I don't want to hurt the quarterback. I don't want Texas to say you beat us because of and I'm on a lot of SEC sites that said, well, you guys beat them because you hurt their quarterback. And it's the same Georgia fans who say that we can't complain we lost the national championship because we didn't have receivers. I mean, unfortunately, It's part of the game. And I hate that part of the game. I don't want to beat any team because we hurt a player. I want to play them at their best and beat them.
Yeah, I don't think Texas is going to want to play you guys anytime soon. The 2 times that you beat them, you hurt their quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I said today in the chat. If you read in Discord, I said, I hope Texas gives their quarterbacks milk, vitamins, and protein shakes. I don't want to go 3 for 3.
Yeah, as soon as Ewers did not get up, you saw the entire Texas stadium just go, oh, God, not again. Like, immediately.
Jimmy Touchdown's giving us an update on Marshall. He just drove by Marshall Stadium, and the cranes and concrete are already out. Marshall's adding the upper deck after Notre Dame win in anticipation of a Big Ten invite. They better add about 2 or 3 upper decks. I don't remember what that stadium holds. It seems like it's less than 30,000.
Now, does everybody on the panel, do you guys all feel really good this year that the powerful SEC West doesn't look that powerful right now? I mean,
dude, we kind of
thought. The SEC East looks better.
I think all the teams in the West struggled this week.
Yeah, except for Arkansas.
Maybe not Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas, they did what they had to, but yeah, I mean, LSU lost to FSU last week. Texas A&M lost to App State. Mississippi, they didn't play overly great. Alabama struggled. I mean, the SEC Powerful West doesn't look as powerful this year.
What about
LSU.
Missouri? Did we see Missouri get stopped last night?
Yeah.
They lost to their old rival 40-12.
Yeah, they get Kansas State.
I was actually happy about that.
Yeah, Kansas State's a good team this year. So how about Tennessee going on the road to Pitt and beating Pitt? That was a good game there, and Pitt had every opportunity to win that game too, and Tennessee had every opportunity to win that game. Both teams. It reminded me a lot of the backyard brawl. It really did. It reminded me a lot of it. Kind of a back and forth game. One team getting down, losing momentum, the other team coming back, and then everything switches. It reminded me a lot of the backyard brawl. But it showed me that Kentucky, after Kentucky beat Florida, it showed me Kentucky's not going to have any trouble with Tennessee, probably, most likely.
I don't know about that. I think Tennessee, that's going to be a good game. Like, Tennessee and Kentucky both are wild cards for the East this year.
Yeah.
But I'll give Kentucky the edge.
Jimmy Touchdown, thank you for $2. He said if the SEC needs doormats, they can invite WVU and Virginia Tech. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Get them all out. Get them all over with. I'll take them this week. I'll take them this week because next week when we win, you can't say anything.
I do think though
if we lose next week, I won't be here.
This year, which conference looks like the power conference this year? I mean, because every conference has had some good wins, and every conference has had some really bad losses. And I mean, this team beats a Big Ten, this team loses to a Big 12. I mean, I think this year might be the year to do a 12-team playoff. The way things are going, it could be entertaining.
I mean,
at this point, be. I mean,
at this point, Georgia's the only one who's looked consistently like what they are. Because yesterday, like you said, Bama struggled. That O-line just still looks like it's kind of out of sorts a little bit. LSU looks like a mess. Then you have Big Ten losing to Pac-12. You have ACC not looking good. Then, here comes the Sun Belt. And we had that conversation, I think, before the season. We said, is the AAC or the Sun Belt the best conference of the group of 5? Well, at this point in time, I have to say it looks like the Sun Belt is the best group of 5 conference. So this is a chaotic year so far. I think things will settle over the next 2 or 3 weeks, especially with conference play coming up. But we're really going to have to see. It's interesting. I like it.
Packer 910, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. He says Florida was overrated, and you can't judge Kentucky on that game. And that's a possibility because maybe Utah was overrated. I mean, maybe Utah was overrated, and Florida went in there and Florida beat them and stuff. But Jimmy,
but you have to remember though, Kentucky don't beat Florida and Florida. I mean, that's only happened once in what?
Right.
It happened once before last night, in 30 years? So, I mean, no matter how bad Florida is, they always play Kentucky tough at home.
Yeah. Jimmy Touchdown, $2 super chat. Marshall will be ranked top 10. Marshall going to the college football playoffs. Nothing would
No.
surprise me right now if a Sun Belt
Maybe
team
top
made it
10,
into the
but
college
not
football
playoff.
playoff. They won't be top 10. But I could see an Sun Belt team going undefeated and maybe making it in playoffs. So they've got a couple of good wins now. So that's they got a couple of really good wins.
Yeah.
The AAC made it in last year and only had one good win. That was the Notre Dame win for Cincinnati. So the Sun Belt's got a lot more good wins under their belt right now than
Well, that's
the
what
AAC did.
I think that's what we're trying to figure out. Right now is what teams are overrated and what teams have been underrated. And that's where we're getting into that first, second, third week where we're going to start seeing teams separate themselves a little bit more and get a little more clarity on how every team is performing in the situation, especially when it comes to like rankings and all that.
I've always
Jersey
said the
number
poll
3.
shouldn't come out until after week 2 or 3. I mean, you should watch a couple weeks to see how teams are. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't
I agree
tell
there.
preseason, who's who. Give them 2 weeks. And that's why I'm glad that the playoff committee don't meet until October. They watch a bunch of games in order to get, kind of an idea.
Jersey Lover 3, thank you for your super chat. You can't blame teams, blame the AP and coaches poll. And that's kind of what we're talking about. Yeah, I agree there. Somebody told me one time, they said, why wouldn't everybody be ranked number 1 in the nation until they lose? And then when they lose one game, they go to number 2 in the nation. And if they lose 2 games, they go to number 3 in the nation. And everybody's just ranked in the top 5 or 6 in the nation. And you do a playoff with all the number 1s at the end of the year. I said, well, there wouldn't be very many number 1s if we're going to make them undefeated. So that wouldn't work.
Did you say Texas was ranked 22 or 21 now? You just look at the poll. I was surprised that Texas got the number 21 ranking.
I didn't look at the poll. Is the poll out?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, the one just came out, and there was one earlier that came out. I think Texas deserves to be ranked because I'll tell you what, if they played the way they played yesterday, they're going to give the Big 12 some problems, especially if Baylor plays the way they played last night against BYU. I mean, you just don't know. Like you said, it's still way too early, and you haven't seen the best or the worst from a lot of teams.
Yeah, conference play is going to say a lot because that's it. Did Texas put their whole heart into this game, and is reality going to come crashing down next week? Like next week's UTSA, are they going to come out flat-footed and disheartened and just blow up on the field basically, or are they going to play like they did yesterday? Because if they play like they did yesterday, yeah, everyone probably needs to watch out. I mean.
All right, so let's go to the let me see what we got here.
Hell, I gotta get back to work, so I'm gonna go ahead and bounce. Nice talking to y'all.
Okay.
Hey man, thanks for coming.
Hey, appreciate you coming in. Thanks for stopping in.
No problem, sir. Thanks for having me.
So we have what is it? The coaches polls come out today.
Coaches poll was supposed to come out at 2 Eastern, I thought. Or no, that was the AP, wasn't it? Was supposed to come out at 2.
Is it AP? Maybe.
Okay, so Georgia was number 2 last week in the AP, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're number 1 now. Okay, so here's the new poll. Number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Alabama. 3, Ohio State. 4, Michigan. 5, Clemson. 6, Oklahoma. 7, USC. 8, Oklahoma State. 9, Kentucky. 10, Arkansas. 11, Michigan State. 12, BYU. 13, Miami. 14, Utah. 15, Tennessee. 16, NC State. 17, Baylor. 18, Florida. 19, Wake Forest. 20 Ole Miss, 21 Texas, 22 Penn State, 23 Pitt, 24 Texas A&M, and 25 Oregon. That's the new AP poll. So they've got Georgia at number 1.
Thank God.
Yeah,
I don't like being number
more than
1.
fair. More than fair.
I don't want to be number 1. Let me be the hunter, not the hunted. It's a lot more fun.
I'm a little bit surprised that they're not giving any love at all, like Washington State doing what they did yesterday, or Oregon State. I am a little surprised by that. But
well, tell me something.
I got a couple.
If you were doing the poll today, let's say the polls just came out today and there was no poll before, how would you have Texas A&M in the top 25 losing to App State?
well, again, they did. I said it. I was very hard on them last week. I said they did not look good against Sam Houston State. And people said, "Oh, well, there was a weather delay." I'm like, it was 17-0 at halftime. Only 17-0. This is supposed to be your savior and Jimbo Fisher, that money, that recruiting class, and you don't look good. I mean, so yeah, I wouldn't have had them even ranked, especially after yesterday, at all. I mean, that's just me personally, because they haven't shown anything at all.
Jimmy Touchdown is starting a GoFundMe for Neal Brown's buyout. Jimmy, thank you for the $2 super chat. And
When
then I
does
got
Neal
another
Brown-
super chat down here.
When does Neal Brown's contract go down? Like the buyout.
2026.
When does that go?
I just don't.
this is all-
I don't believe it does.
Oh,
Wow.
I don't believe it does. I don't remember exactly, but I don't think it goes down. Another $2 super chat from Kadu. Texas plays according to their competition. I believe that. They do. They always play up or down to their competition.
But I also think,
And a lot
though,
of teams do
yesterday
that.
was kind of hard because they were a 20-point dog. And I don't care who you are. If you make a blue blood a 20-point dog, they're going to come out and fight. You know, I mean, that's just embarrassing.
Yeah, Texas has too much talent to not be able to keep up with teams if they play, you know. So, Jimmy Touchdown, another $2 super chat. Rankings are rigged with no SBC teams in the top 25. Benedict Rose, thank you for a $2 super chat. Didn't Pitt quarterback get hurt again? We told you, laugh out loud. Yeah, he did get hurt. I don't think he's serious right now, but yeah, he got hurt. So
yeah, some of those
he
guys
might
just
be
cannot-
feeling it a lot more today.
I'll be better, but yeah, some of those quarterbacks, you know, as soon as they have one of those injuries, it just is a reoccurring thing consistently, especially if it's like throwing shoulder, non-throwing shoulder, whatever. It's always going to get dinged up. So, like with yours yesterday, it'll be interesting to see if he can stay healthy, or if he takes another hit, does it reoccur again? Because he was in pain yesterday. I mean, obviously they held him out the whole time, and that was his non-throwing shoulder.
Now, can I ask
Putting
you
the StreamYard
guys,
link
how
in.
is – go ahead, Joey.
I was just saying, I'm putting the StreamYard link in the chat again for everyone in the chat. If anyone wants to come in and talk about a game, anything you want to talk about, come on in.
What I was going to say is, how is Brian Ferentz still the offensive coordinator at Iowa? I mean, you score a field goal in week 1, and you've had field position all day long. And then yesterday, you open up with the touchdown. Now, yes, there was a block punt. You had 14 yards to go, but they scored a touchdown, and they didn't do nothing the rest of the game. I mean, that's not a coach where you got a $5 million buyout. That's, goodbye. Let's bring in a new coordinator.
That's the benefit of being the coach's son.
Yeah. And good thing it's Iowa, who only cares about making a bowl game, because if it was anywhere else, I mean, could you imagine Oregon putting up with that kind of an offense, or, a blue blood anywhere other than Iowa that would put up with that?
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties.
Welcome back, Will.
Oh,
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
we were about to send out the welfare check for you. We were afraid.
We're afraid
Yeah,
you
no
couldn't take
one
the heat.
would put up with that type. No one would put up with that type of offense other than Iowa, and that's because he's the coach's son. But everyone said last year when he got promoted, they were like, "That's not a good idea."
No,
and it's turned out to be just that. Not a good idea. The defense is good, but that offense is like 1920s. You know, I mean, it's just bad. I mean,
I think Newt Rockney's Notre Dame teams would have had a better offense than Iowa's their first two games.
Yeah. Does Iowa even use the forward pass? I mean, because all they do is run and run and run. I mean,
what I want to know is
week.
who in the world took maybe took the over in that game. The over under was 31 or 32. Who would have taken the over?
Corey Braddock was saying, "Hey, there might be the over. Look at taking the over for the game." That's what Corey said. He's like, he doesn't gamble, but he thought that the over might be a good bet. So I don't know. I might have to call into Corey's show and tell him about that. Well, no, he'll go in on us losing to Marshall. I can't.
Yeah.
But I told you guys, never listen to me about betting, but that under was a lock. I mean, there is no way, they're going to do. Because when I said it, though, the line was 37, and it's like, come on. There's no way those.
If it had been like take the over at like maybe even 28, I might have been like, okay, maybe someone gets 17, the other gets 14. Okay, but 31 or more? No, absolutely not.
I think if the over
because
under
at
would have
over
been 21,
27, you're thinking Iowa State wins, 20-7, or Iowa State would put the points up. But yeah,
Maybe there was like a special teams return, like took it over that level or something like that. But offensively, no, like over 30, absolutely not. And they proved it yesterday.
I think I could have set it at 21, and I would have still taken the under. I mean,
so now what's the over under on how many touchdowns Iowa scores the rest for the whole season, since they've only got 1 in 2 games?
We go 8.
Well,
Is 8 a good number? Like 8?
God.
think he'll score 8? I don't know if they'll score 8. I think I'd have to put the over under at 6.
I mean, if there was an over under on safeties for the season, they might have already broken the over because of the 2 in the first game. So that's not exactly the most common thing to get in football. So they're already on top of that one.
Do we think? So they got taking on Nevada next week. Iowa is, and Nevada did lose to FCS Incarnate Word this past week. But they've been scoring points. Like they lost 55-41 to Incarnate Word, and then the first week they beat New Mexico State 23-12, and the next week they beat Texas State 38-14. So do we think that they'll? I don't know if they score. Do you think they'll be able to score? Because that's really all they got to do against Iowa to win.
The problem is that Iowa defense is legit. I mean, that is a legit defense. Yeah. But, if they block a punt, get an interception, a fumble, something like that, yeah, they're going to score, and the question is, when does Iowa score? That's the question.
Yeah, like defensively, Iowa is always relatively solid, if not really, really good. But yeah, that offense for several years has been just putrid. So if they get down 10, 14 points, they're screwed, I think. They're absolutely screwed.
Real quick, chat, be sure and hit the thumbs up button so this, don't mean that you like me or like this video. It just means that you are helping us hit the algorithms for YouTube, so that it gets more people in the chat to talk to. Maybe we get some more people in the stream coming in here. Once again, I posted the link back in the stream to the stream. Come on in and ask us a question or talk or let us know about your team. Maybe there's a team we haven't talked about that you want to talk about. That's fine too. Come on in. We can make stuff up. If we don't know about your team, we can make all kinds of stuff up and act like we do. It was a game a while ago I looked at, and I wanted to talk about it. And I can't find it. Oh, Illinois and Virginia. Illinois beat Virginia 24-3. I don't know if Virginia's going to win a game this year. Where they're playing.
Does Virginia play BC?
Maybe. I don't think so.
I don't know.
That might. I mean, if Virginia plays BC, that could be the one game that I would give them a shot. Maybe not a great shot here. I'm finding Virginia real quick, and
Virginia still has Armstrong as quarterback too, and that guy was throwing it all over the place last year. So I don't know what's going on. I know they did the whole coaching change and stuff, but I mean, he's not a bad quarterback, so they should be able to be putting up much more points than that.
Well, they're taking on Old Dominion next week, and if Old Dominion beats Virginia, so they play Virginia and Virginia Tech play for the Commonwealth Cup. Old Dominion should be able to hoist the Commonwealth Cup if they beat both Virginia and Virginia Tech.
So if Old Dominion wins this week, they're on top of the ACC with the 2-0 lead.
In the state of Virginia, anyway.
Well, wait
that's
a minute.
something else.
And then 2 weeks later, then if they lose to Old Dominion tomorrow, then really the only chance Virginia would have, maybe, could they beat Coastal Carolina?
Georgia Tech, I think, is their most winnable game.
Yeah, but if Georgia Tech plays like they played against Clemson in the first half,
that's true.
Now the second half they didn't look as good, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Who does Virginia? You say Georgia Tech. I'm wondering Coastal Carolina. I thought maybe Virginia Tech before they beat BC yesterday. That's not. I don't see Virginia winning 2 games this year.
Just shows how good of a coach. Yeah, just shows how good of a coach Bronco Mendenhall is, because as soon as he leaves, everything just falls apart.
Yeah, because I mean,
I couldn't understand. And I couldn't understand yesterday Virginia Tech, beating Boston College. After Boston College, I just couldn't figure it out. I figured Boston College would win that game. I think Virginia Tech was favored by 3. But I was just saying, that 2.5. I just really figured that Boston College would beat Virginia after them losing to Old Dominion. I figured they were going to be down and out, and Boston College had just went in and beat Rutgers, which was a Power 5 program. So they had something under their belt. I can't figure out some of these teams, including my own, West Virginia. But some of these losses are really, really surprising me this year. Problem is they're not surprising Vegas. The way Vegas is making their lines. Although yesterday they were wrong on the West Virginia line because they had West Virginia favored by 2 touchdowns. So the late game last night. How many of you got to see the Baylor BYU game? 2 overtime.
I saw it, and I bet about $50. I bet about $50 on Baylor, and it's down the drain, down the chute.
Yeah, I had Baylor myself. I wanted Baylor to win that game, and I really figured they were the better team. Turns out they're both about equal. BYU's a good team this year, man. That's for sure.
Well, the line was only like 3.5, and then you're at BYU, so that's basically a 0, just an equal matchup at that point. And I think BYU is trying to make a statement, and it was their revenge game for last year at Baylor, to get this win.
Yeah.
So good job for the Cougs, though. Good job for the Cougs.
But
So
BYU's
the
kicker
Mets,
lost
Ben.
his name, right? BYU's kicker had to change his name after last night because what was he, Mr. Make It or Mr. Kick? And he missed 2 inside. So I mean, they got to change his name now.
Well, the best
both
one I
kickers
always
need to change their name.
whose team had the kicker? It was Blewett. Was that Pittsburgh, right? The kicker's name was Blewett, missed it.
Yeah.
Blewett. And it was but he was one of those really great kickers. But it was that's so ironic to have that type of name and be a good kicker.
Man,
He was
Matt,
at Pitt. He was Pitt.
They're telling me that Rutgers beat Boston College. I was wrong on that. I was thinking Boston College beat Rutgers.
Yeah, Rutgers came back and won that game or whatever.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it was a close game.
I remember that now. Yeah, I remember that now. But yeah, that game last night, BYU and Baylor, They acted like neither one of them wanted to win the game because every time they'd have a game-winning field goal, they'd miss it. Both teams. It was crazy.
It was a gentleman handshake. Like, no, you can have it. No, you can have it. No, you can have it.
But
crazy.
you watch this year, there's been a lot of misses. You know, I mean, look at the LSU game. Well, you know, he missed the extra point. Texas yesterday, they missed
Chip
the
shot,
field goal
yeah.
going into halftime. I mean,
That was
Yeah.
like a 15-yard field goal. It was a chip. It wasn't even an extra point. And those are the hardest, I think, for kickers. Those are absolutely the hardest kicks because they're so close. They're like, I got this.
yeah,
Just
you're not
totally-
even worried about it.
Totally
It just-
botched it.
yeah.
Well, especially if they're that close and they're on a hash mark, you know, and it can make it even tougher.
I turned the game off in overtime after that Baylor kicker. Woo-wee, that was a bad kick in overtime.
So I'm going up through here again. I'm looking at these games. I'm just trying to make sure there wasn't one that we missed. Well, Wake Forest over Vanderbilt, 45-25. Wake Forest is lucky they got their quarterback back. I didn't get to watch that game.
Nah.
Was he fully healthy? Did he look good? Or
He
anybody
threw
watch
4
it?
touchdowns, didn't he?
Yeah, his stats
I
were
have
good.
no idea.
Yeah, I didn't
His
watch
stats
the
were
game, but I thought I read somewhere that he threw 4 touchdowns in his return. So, I mean,
So
Yeah, I
he
think
must
I
be,
think
he
he was
must
like
be back.
He was like something like 23 to 33. I might be wrong on those numbers, but I mean, like, pretty good yardage. I mean, even without Hartman, I had still said Wake Forest should win that game. But with him back, it was pretty much a 100% Wake Forest was going to take it. So it's good to see him back, though, because, we were all kind of worried about him. But to hear it was just something like that, and he's overcome it already, that's good for him. So Wake
because
will
they
be.
there
didn't
was a-
release it right away. What was wrong with him, and everybody was worried that he was going to be out 4 or 5, maybe even 6 weeks, and that would have really hurt Wake Forest.
Yeah, well, they said it was, undisclosed. They said a medical procedure, and everyone was worried about his mental health, but they had said it was a medical procedure, but no one knew what. So when it came out as just a blood clot, it was like, okay, that sucks, but we see how long it takes you to recover from it, and he got over it pretty quickly, apparently, and that's good for him and Wake Forest as a whole. So,
There's Abed, and it's pretty much it's over at that point. Now, another thrilling game yesterday was UTSA and Army. Final in overtime was 41-38. UTSA won 41-38. So that would have probably been a good game to watch. I didn't watch it. I just now noticed the score. That was final in overtime. So that would have
Watch
been a really good game.
yeah, watch out, Texas, next week for UTSA.
Now, the
They took
game
down-
I'm surprised we haven't talked about yet was Joey Foster's favorite coach lost to Texas Tech yesterday.
Oh, I was saving that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joey. I was just like, hey, we haven't
Yeah, I was
mentioned
saving
Joey's
that one.
favorite coach yet.
Oh, we're going to end on that. Matter of fact, we can go right into it right now. Let's just do it.
It was
Let's
only
just go
by
ahead and talk
3.
about-
Hold on now. It was only by 3 points.
Last year, he lost that game 42-10 or something like that. And I said, that's what I'm talking about. The Duke can't coach against the Power 5 program. And then going into this year, everybody's like, they're the better team. They're the better team. No. When he plays Power 5 programs, he'll lose. Watch. And here we are. And then this was the game. And I said, Texas Tech, now he's going to lose this game. He won't win this game. And he didn't. I am so happy. And so all you people that like to super chat about how great Dana Holgerson is, please super chat right now how great he is for me. Because he's such a wonderful coach. How
Is
about
Dana
that?
Hogan in the chat right there, right now, like he was the other night?
Is what?
Is Holgerson in the chat like he was the other night?
No,
You
he's
two
not
are
in
going
the
for
chat. Yeah, he followed me to Mark Rogers even.
Now, I was wondering, Joey, why you hadn't brought up Holgerson when he lost. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
for sure Joey was dancing all night last night when Holgerson lost.
Oh yeah, I was going around here saying, "Yep, told you people." Dude can't coach. He can't coach. I mean, he honestly, the talent he's got on that team should not have lost to Texas Tech. Honestly, with the talent he's got on that team. So it shows you how bad of a coach he is.
Well, it's like last year. Houston got better as the year went on. I think they're that team that kind of starts slow, and then they get better and better and better as they become more consistent. Even though it's a good team, there's still a lot of new players, I'm sure, like every team. So, but yeah, they shouldn't have lost that game yesterday. So I don't know how that happened or he allowed that to happen. It was a close game, but again, screwed my picks. Thanks, Holgerson.
Yeah.
But see, that's what happens when you let a team stick around. I mean, that was Texas's problem yesterday. They beat us, but they settled for field goals. You know what I mean? And when you got a team against the rope, I mean, they had Alabama, they had momentum and they were going, but you settle for field goals. And then all of a sudden, no matter how bad Alabama's offense are, we got the players. We're going to score. We scored that touchdown, and now all of a sudden, you're behind. The momentum's on us. Yeah, you can't let teams stick around.
Golden Blue Dude's in the chat. He says he hopes West Virginia doesn't keep Neal Brown too long like they did with Dana Holgerson. I agree.
I would keep him around I wouldn't fire him before the year ends, though. Like, I feel like he deserves a little more time. No.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, if you're going to fire him this year, you want to do it late October, though, with recruiting classes and that. You kind of want to get a coach in there, because I don't like that they moved the kids to December. I like it better in February. The coach gets the whole year, and then you can bring in a new coach. Now that they're signing in December, you got to have that coach ready in November to start getting recruits. So I think that's why you see so many coaches' hot seats get hot early.
It's creating a lot more chaos in the sense of the coaching world, and it's tough on the coaches. So it's not just about the players, the signing period. The coaches have to deal with this too. Going, is this my class? Do I have? It's absolutely insane what they have to deal with too.
Benedict Rose, thank you for the $5 super chat. On second thought, how about Deion Sanders for Nebraska? He gives you a splash and no issues. If you want to get those top athletes, get someone that gets them. That's a good idea. I don't know how he would fit in there culturally, but not a bad idea.
Nebraska and Deion Sanders. You could look at it the same way with like even Urban Meyer. Would he really fit in with Nebraska? Nebraska is a very hard culture fit, I think, for a lot of guys, because it's Nebraska.
Yeah, it's hard to find another Tom Osborne.
Because even Bo Pelini, he didn't fit in there, but he was still winning 9-10 games a year. But he didn't culturally fit there, and people didn't like him. But look what they have now since then.
And does Deion Sanders want to stand on the sideline in Nebraska in the wintertime and going to Iowa and going to Minnesota? That's really not a Deion Sanders kind of scene, No. I could see him at like Florida State, his alma mater, or Miami, when Miami had the swag. Yeah, that's where Deion Sanders fits.
I think you got to look at Tom Herman. I think he's a good fit at Nebraska. He's who I would hire.
Yeah, Tom Herman
says Tom Herman and Hugh Freeze will fit good at West Virginia. That's who they need to go after.
Not Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd fit there. Tom Herman would probably fit in really well, and people are not going to like this comment. Maybe go steal Charlie Strong from Miami for the linebacker coach. Give him another head coaching job. Charlie Strong is a great guy. He seems like he would probably fit in okay in Nebraska. Like his style fits kind of the Nebraska theme, but I don't know if they would want him. But not a bad name.
I wouldn't be happy about a Charlie Strong hire.
I understand. That's why I was like, people aren't going to like the name, but it wouldn't be like the worst person in the world you could get. He's had success at least,
Oh no, it wouldn't be the worst person, but I would be really excited if West Virginia and this is speculation because that's $20 million buyout. That's a lot of money to West Virginia, and so I don't think it's going to happen. But I would be really happy with a Tom Herman. That's who I think they should go after, and who I think they would go after. To be honest.
Well, do you know who the winner in this situation is for West Virginia right now, and Neal Brown? His agent, who apparently got that clause in there saying there's no drop down in the buyout. His agent is a rock star.
Yeah, I don't. Hey, GBD, you're in here. Is there a drop down in that buyout? I don't think there is. It's $20 million, no matter when, isn't it? Or does it go down like in 2025 or anything?
I think it would have to go down because the last year you'll say, okay, we're not going to fire you. We're just going to go ahead and pay your salary for the year. You go do your thing in Hawaii. We're bringing in a coach,
Well, the point is that he got it locked in for that much longer still until the final year. His agent is still a rock star because every year you almost think there would be like a little bit of performance based like drop off or something like that or something. But if he got it locked in like that, his agent.
Okay, it drops. It does drop. It drops to 16.5 after this year, so it's still not much.
Okay, so
not much at all.
$1.5 million a year.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for any school, not just West Virginia. For any school, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, if you're Alabama, if you really wanted to get rid of Nick Saban, you'll dish out 20 mil, no problem. But for most schools, that's a lot of money.
But here's the question,
Okay,
though. I mean, last year, all these coaches moved around. You had Lincoln Riley go. You had Venables get picked up. You had Kelly go. You had a bunch of coaches sign new contracts. Who is out? Who would leave? What big name coaches would leave this year? You know what I mean?
Looking at Dave Aranda, maybe.
I think he's very happy where he is. He's very happy where he is.
I think Aranda would have went to Nebraska if the Big 12 was in trouble of losing like the power. If it was going to the Big 10 and the SEC is the two super conferences, then I could see him wanting to jump ship. But now that they're, they just signed, or they haven't yet, but they're signing an extended playoff where the Big 12 is going to. I don't see him leaving Baylor.
Kadu, thank you for the $2. Said South Dakota State coach at Nebraska. And this is something Golden Blue is saying. I said this a while ago. He says that's why West Virginia fans want Shane Lyons fired because of that crazy contract with Neal Brown. And that was a crazy contract. I mean, $20 million buyout, and dropping to $16.5 million. It's not much. When does that thing drop down to single digits?
Under 10 million.
At 2026. So, yeah. Probably 2025 or 26. So I don't know. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap this show up. We've been on for going on an hour and a half now. Appreciate everybody coming on. Ben, you want to give us a final word?
I'm just in full recovery mode, and I'm enjoying this weekend. We did what we needed to do on our end, but appreciate you, Joey, having me on. Everyone, check me out here on YouTube, Exploring with Ben and Sam. There we go. There it is. Have to miss a line there. But see you guys later. We'll talk later, I'm sure. So thanks, Joey.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in, Ben. And everybody be sure and sub Ben up. He does have a great channel. Got a great channel I like. Will?
Cheers.
Give us your final word.
I'm where Ben was on last Sunday. I'm currently still accepting what happened. I'm trying to do a little therapy for myself here. We're definitely recovering, and but
there's a difference though. There's a difference. Ben was just getting over getting beat by Georgia. You're having to get being beat by Marshall.
Well, I mean, similar in embarrassment, I guess, because Oregon lost by a lot, but we only lost by a little to a much worse team. So,
yeah. We lost to Kansas. So
you were at home though, also. Will we went across the country? Sorry, I have to point that out.
Don't worry, Will. We were at home too. And I have to say that up until probably this year, losing to Kansas is worse than losing to Marshall, if you think about it, because Kansas was a lot worse program than Marshall was. So, Will, thanks for being here. Tide Guy, tell everybody where to find you at and give us your last word, man.
I'm at Tide Guy. My last word is Ben, Will, nothing personal, but I can't hang out with you guys this week. Alabama plays Louisiana Monroe, and the last time we played them in 2007, it didn't go good. So I don't want to hang out with you guys this week just in case the trend continues. I hope that, we don't have flashbacks to 2007 on Louisiana Monroe, and we play a lot better than we did against Texas.
All right. Benny Rose, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, I agree the idea of prime time at Nebraska, where we're talking about Dion coming. We're talking about prime time at Nebraska. It seems strange, but maybe it's time for some spice. Sign a couple of kids that run 4.2 and principal hat goes back. Yeah, that's, get some speed in there. Yeah, that would be good. Problem is that it's also hard to recruit to Nebraska. And since they've been down for so many years, it's going to make it even harder. So.
And it's hard to run 4.2 into snow.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure, yeah.
I'm curious which school I'm wondering which school is going to be the sucker to hire Dan Mullen as their next coach, because Dan Mullen, man, he's the same sort of trap that Dana Holgerson is. Like, he'll win with the players that the previous coach recruited, but cannot recruit himself, and So I'm worried which program falls into that trap.
Yeah, I'm wondering that too. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all coming on. We do this show every Sunday at 2:00, and we invite everybody to come back and watch. We just talk about the previous day games and the scores, and more or less just give you an update on that. So we appreciate everybody being here. Appreciate all the super chats. Joe and Blue Dude will be back with you guys tomorrow for a live show, and who knows, he may pop on and do a live show tonight. Never know about him. Thanks for everybody being here. We appreciate all your support. Be sure and hit that like and subscribe button before you leave, and we'll see everyone tomorrow. Good night.
Bye, guys.